Okay, hello class. So I'm presenting to you the arguments for environmental ethics and work toward final essay. So that's how it appears in the gradebook on personal environmentalism. So this is going to be due Friday the 17th by 11:30 p.m. via our assignments folder, and no late work accepted, even if it's a few minutes late. Okay, I'm very strict with this, so please keep that in mind, okay, as we work forward. And easy thing to keep in mind here as I'm going through is that everything that is written in black here is basically the instruction, and everything that is written in red here is an example that was written by a student from a previous semester. Okay, so easiest thing to keep in mind is that everything in red then is what you will need to write, okay, in terms of the size and likewise the content. Okay, so there are word count restrictions and requirements as we go through as well. So let's get in here right away. So first, you're going to be laying out an ethical problem. So with approximately 100 words, offer a personal, and I have this underlined and in bold, and that is because I do not want you to then have a topic on deforestation or a topic on wind farming or a topic on climate change or overpopulation. It cannot be something that is apart from you. You need to have a personal connection by way of your personal experience. Okay, that's the most important part of this, and so that's a criteria. So you're going to be laying out in 100 words a personal, environmentally ethical problem you are working on or will be working on. Your choice must be clearly, personally connected to one category from the list below. If you have an alternative, be sure to get clearance from me before you write. Let me know via email or something. So you could either A, write about overpopulation, i.e. your personal connection starting with the family or not, or B, pollution. So your personal connection could be due to product overconsumption, packaging, recycling, litter, food waste, diet issues, transportation issues, etc. Or C, energy and water use. So your personal connection could be tied to energy usage, electrical usage, water usage, etc. Okay. Then a student example here is how it is that a student from a former semester wrote about their personal ethical problem here, having to do with transportation and driving a car as opposed to taking public transportation to Red Rocks. Okay, so I'll let you read over this. I'll have a PDF of it to accompany this screencast, but I'm not going to read through everything she wrote, although she did an excellent job. There are some little problems with some of the stuff she wrote, and I'll point those out in just a second. Okay, so we have her paragraph there, about 100 words. Then in approximately 200 words, so divide that in half so that you have 200 words each. So offer two ethical theories from the list below by which you will be solving and countering your personal environmental ethical solution. So don't start writing on any of this till you read all the instructions, okay? Because this here, you're going to have to divide up in a very specific way, and I'm going to show you how that's done. So be 100% sure to hit the exact criteria points for each theory as listed at the end of this document. I have an asterisk here, and I'm going to go over this in a little bit because this is critical, these criteria points. So you could either write about utilitarianism, negative utilitarianism, natural law theory, deontology, virtue ethics, or ecofeminism. Okay, but just you'll be using only two of these. You'll select two of these to write about. Okay, so one that you're going to favor and the other one by which you're going to counter. okay? So then this student here wrote about negative utilitarianism as the point that they were going to favor, okay, in one paragraph in terms of the problem of transportation. This student did an excellent job here of presenting utilitarianism and specifically negative utilitarianism, except that she did not, as I note here, get into some of the way that it's connected to the transportation issue. So I wish she had even done that. So she could have had some of these sentences here connected to the transportation issue she was writing about. So that I would have asked her to change, but still she did an excellent job. Then the next paragraph here in approximately 117 words, the student then offered her second theory by way of Kant's deontology that she was going to counter. So here she's showing how the categorical imperative is working by way of Kant's deontology, and also how it's working with the transportation issue that she's going to counter. Okay? So in other words, she hit all the criteria points that I asked for by way of presenting Kant's moral theory in connection to the transportation issue and setting it up as she was going to counter it. So in other words, the easiest thing to do here in terms of countering a moral theory is start pointing out some of the fundamental problems with the theory as far as you understand it. That's the easiest way to counter or rebut these theories, okay? So then remember too that you're going to then bring in, so C, you're going to have the first formal counter argument. So this is the argument phase. So in other words, note here, it is required that each premise and conclusion are offered in complete sentences and not bullet pointed phrases. So I want to have these as complete sentences. I don't want any of these half sentences. I know it's tempting to do that, but don't do that. So also keep in mind that the number of premises must be no less than 2 as a minimum, yet you can have more than 2, and then be 100% sure that each premise is not simply a repeat or rewording of the others. In other words, when you have these premises, be sure that they are not points of reasoning that are the same. That's the easiest way to think about that. Okay, so they're not the same point of reasoning. They're parts of the reasoning. They're adding up to the conclusion. Okay, so they're affirming the conclusion. Okay, and then also be sure that whatever you have in the conclusion is accounted for in the premises. That's a really big thing for me, okay? Be sure that you're accounting for that reasonably in the premises. Whatever you're concluding with must be accounted for in the premises, okay? So then the final defense of the solution. So you had a first formal argument. Now part D, you're moving into a final defense of the solution. So in approximately 100 words, offer a defense for your solution by way of the original ethical theory selected. So here the student is offering a final defense, okay? So in about 124 words, she's offering a final defense of negative utilitarianism in terms of her transportation issue, countering deontological position by way of Kant's deontology, okay? So then you are offering the second formal argument, which is the final defense, okay? So this is the student example of a favored formal argument with a conclusion, otherwise known as the rebuttal of the counter argument. So all the requirements for these is the same as the first one. In other words, you must have complete sentences. You must what do I have here? You must have complete sentences. You can't have bullet pointed phrases, and then also the avoid redundancies. So then, as far as these criteria points here, this is really important. So this is how I'm going to be grading you. So for example, with deontology, your answer must include clear reference to the first version of Kant's categorical imperative. Your answer must give reference to Kant. Avoid referring to deontology as a person, as deontology states, anything like that. Deontology talks about. Do not do that. Then answer must refer to the universal principle of Kant's moral theory and rational thought. Answer must include reference to deontology as non-consequentialist. So notice that the above example, she hit all those points as she was writing about her ethical theory in conjunction with the transportation issue. Okay, so utilitarianism is the same way. Answers must show how utilitarianism is understood as a moral theory. If negative utilitarianism is utilized, the answer must include reference to the reduction of suffering. Answer must also refer to either Mill, Bentham, or Popper. Avoid referring to utilitarianism as a person. Answer must refer to utilitarianism or negative utilitarianism as consequentialist. So how does that work? Okay, so this big part about why, be sure that you hit these. I don't want to just see these plugged in here. I want you to show me how your personal problem is working through negative utilitarianism as its consequentialist. How is that doing that? You're explaining that, okay? Then, because I'm going to be looking for that. That's really important for me. Virtue ethics, this virtue ethics one trips people up all the time, okay? So if you're writing about virtue ethics, you must write about it, including reference to one virtue, and the virtue must be named and described outright. Answer must refer to Aristotle. Answer referring to virtue ethics as a person. Avoid referring to virtue ethics as a person. Answer must include reference to the reasonable way in which the virtue is working regarding Aristotle's golden mean. Okay, that's really important. I'm going to be looking for that. How does that work with the problem? How does that work with the theory in conjunction with the problem? This is what I'm looking for, okay? Ethics of care, ecofeminism. Answers must include reference to one virtue. Answer must make reference to feminist ethics, ecofeminism with a reference to Carol Gilligan or Nell Noddings. Avoid referring to feminist ethics or ethics of care as a person. Refer to the PDF I have on this, by the way, from that week's assignment. Answers must include reference to ethics of care, virtues that are not traditionally masculine, so that it shouldn't refer to courage or impartiality. Natural law theory. So if you're using natural law, your answers must refer to the role of intrinsic reason in natural law as we tend toward the good. Okay, so answer must refer to St. Thomas Aquinas. Avoid referring to natural law as a person, and then answers must include reference to natural law as non-consequentialist. Answers must also include reference to conscience, okay, or conscientiousness, okay? So these are critical things. You must hit these points as you're working through them, okay? As you're working through the theory and as you're working through your personal issues, showing how. This is a really big deal, and this is critical to how I'm looking at this, because you can't just plug this stuff in. You must show how it's working in conjunction with your theory. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to be having, I have a PDF this PDF that you will look at and take it from there. Okay, so I think that's all for now. And as always, if you have questions, please do not hesitate to send me an email or text me or call me or whatever with whatever specific questions you have. Okay, and the way this is going to work is I'm going to combine it with the weekly objective points as needed in the gradebook. Okay, so like I said, if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask me ahead of time, not at the last minute. Okay, and again, I don't take any late work. So good luck, and thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.